You are now listening to Effin Radio.
And welcome to F&B Radio. My name is Lindsay Collins, and I am your host. There's so much happening this week, and that just bleeds on into basically May. I don't even know where to start. I'm going to start at the top of the show by saying, if you're hearing this show right now on Friday, February 24th, do yourself a favor and go to Silver Hill Studios tonight to see an incredible collaboration. I don't know. We're just going to keep going. Collaboration between our pal, an incredible artist, the one and only Nathan McClements, is collabing with so many insane musicians in Charleston. I can't even name them all, but just to like dangle a few in front of you, it's headlined by Joel Hamilton, aka Jamilton. The last time I saw Joel play music, it truly brought me to tears in the best way. If you haven't seen him play before, you're really just shortchanging yourself. You know, I would just say remedy that right away. But it's Joel Hamilton and friends, so there's going to be 3 different sets. It's basically like that time that the band filmed that The Last Dance, where it was like Bob Dylan and I don't know, every famous musician of all time. It was there. What's his name? Tom Petty. It felt like the Beatles were there. Maybe George, one of them. Ringo, one of them. But it's going to be, you know, more in the now times. So it'll be less in like the 70s and more in like tomorrow. And it's going to be She Returns from War is going to be there. Brett Nash is going to be there. Like I said, Joel's going to be there. I think Nathan's even going to play some sort of instrument or set or something. Not to mention he's hanging insanely beautiful pieces. I've seen a few. Nathan is like, I don't know, just not only our friend, but just an incredible, incredible artist. And I wanted to have him on the show and Joel actually, and we just could not make the schedules work. My schedule has been so tight. And I love that. I love to be busy, but it feels like that the days just roll right into the next. And I feel almost like I can't come up for air. So I'm so excited to not only see the artwork, be in the space. Sully Sullivan's Silver Hill Studios is one of the most exquisite and exciting. And can we say poppin'? Can people still say poppin'? I'm going to say I'm saying poppin'. I don't know if we're still saying poppin', but I am. It's gorgeous. It's where we did the last Rip City, and we've done another Rip City there before. And just like they do tons of cool events, art shows, extravaganzas, you name it. So check it out. There's tickets available. I'm going to put a link in the show notes so you can click right through. And while you're clicking through on links, can I just say you guys nominated me for a Best of award? Best of Charleston, which is run by the city paper. It's their yearly kind of awards for what's happening around Charleston. F&B Radio is nominated for a Best Podcast. What? You guys, I feel, I'm blushing. My cheeks are flushed. They're a beautiful, rosy, cheeky color because I can't believe that I'm a finalist. I'm so excited that this show continues to just chug along and make strides. And it's all because of you guys. Being nominated is honestly enough. But if you feel like you want to go the extra mile, and you've probably already created an account if you nominated me. So click the link in my show notes. It's right under the link to get tickets to Nathan's place and Joel's show. Nathan's place is just a house now. Now we're just going to Nathan's house. You guys want to go there? To the show, you can get tickets. And then right below that, there's going to be a link for the best of. So you can go vote in a bunch of different categories. But definitely try to cinch that win for F&B Radio as best podcast. That would just be amazing. That would just be so cool to me. And again, I'm like, honestly, just being nominated is wild enough. So if that's as far as we get, then that's as far as we get. But if you want to take it home, let's take it home. Oh my God. What the fuck has been happening? No, I've been doing last night. You know why I'm so tired? I used up all of my podcast energy on someone else's podcast. Someone else asked me to be a guest on their podcast. It's called Hospitality MD, and they're out of Chicago, and they reached out to me. And I realized that I got back to them too quick because they were like, wow, we didn't expect you to get back to us that quick. But it was honestly one of the most unexpectedly fun conversations I've had in a really long time. I, turns out, love to be a guest on other people's podcasts, and people don't really ask me to do that. I found. I think they're like, oh, you got your own podcast, you're good. You don't need this. But it's the opposite. I'm like, actually, I really enjoy being on someone else's podcast because I can just kind of sit back and be like, that was your segue. I can take shots like that. No, I did not. They were incredibly good at what they do. You should check out their show. And then right at the end, I found out they have a documentary and it's insane and so cool. And so I want to have them on the show coming up soon. And by soon, I mean in May when things settle down, because right after this, we're rolling into Hogs for the Cause. Oh my God, I'm going to have to put another link in the show. There's going to be so many links. It's just going to be a string of links in the show notes for like 5 pages. There are still tickets available to Hogs for the Cause, which is the charity event that I help host with Home Team. And I'm essentially the MC. So you'll see me on stage, like introducing bands and doing raffles and just being a hype woman in general. But Hogs for the Cause is an incredible charity that benefits families of children that have been diagnosed with pediatric brain cancer. And it is just so close to my heart. The food is always insane and amazing. And I'm so excited to be a part of it for the 3rd time. This is the 3rd annual time that I've emceed this event. I will be in the VIP. There are still, I think at this point, there's still a handful of tickets to the VIP, which is basically you pay one price, you get into this pretty luxurious VIP booth, which is outside where you can see the bands, but you don't have to deal with all the crowds. And there's unlimited food and drinks by Goat Sheep Cow, by Jason Stanhope of Fig, by Home Team themselves. They always have some. There's going to be donuts, and it's just going to be an extravaganza. So I will be there on Saturday. And I won't just be in the VIP like I'm Paris Hilton. I'll be around, But if you want to like really do it right, I'm telling you, by the time you get, a bite here, a bite there, a drink here, you're going to equal the price of a ticket to the VIP. And then everything is just like unlimited, as they say. So do it. Come hang. It's for a great cause. It'll really round out the weekend. You can hit Nathan and Joel's show on Friday night. Then you can roll in. It opens at 11. You can roll into Hogs for the Cause, do some good, support families with children dealing with pediatric brain cancer by eating a bunch of delicious food, hearing some live music, hanging out with me. Maybe we slam a couple frozen game changers. And then we go on about our day. Doesn't that sound fun? I love that. I hope that you will click that 3rd link. I know this is a lot of clicking. We're clicking it, and I appreciate you hanging with me for these up top announcements because it's it's what you got to do. And I'm so thrilled for this weekend, and I'm also just slowly like a turtle in its shell, just like easing, like just putting one foot in, the other foot in. I'm going to pull my neck in. I'm just going to seal up the box of my box turtle. If I was a turtle, I'd be a box turtle. I know a lot of people would be like, oh, dude, sea turtle. Which now that I said that out loud, I'm like, no, I'd definitely be a sea turtle. It's way better. That's way better. But box turtles, I mean, they are their own house. And so part of that really holds an appeal to me. Just being able to lock yourself away, like at any given time, just like, sorry, I'm unavailable, and just going inside your shell. That sounds really good. I've been like, not to be like, I'm so busy, but I have been so busy. And it's just that time of year, and it's amazing, but it is also like crazy exhausted. So if you're like feeling Like you can only do one of the three things that I'm putting links to in my show notes. Just vote for me. No, I'm just kidding. Go to one of those amazing shows, and then be nice to yourself. I bought very expensive bath salts, and I keep accidentally saying I'm gonna go home and do some bath salts, and as my friend Mari said, she was like, Florida man style? And I was like, Florida man style. No, I'm not going to be smoking them or inhaling them or whatever people were doing a few years ago. Probably still doing. I would venture to say that like it didn't just go away when the news stopped reporting it. I think there are probably 100% still people just getting zombied on bath salts. I'm not though, because these honestly cost more than meth. Like the bath salts, I think for the jar of these Dead Sea bath salts, it was like $50, but they're intoxicating, all puns intended, whether you smoke them or not. So I just put them in my tub just to be safe. Cause I'm like, there's a scale, you can get as lit as you want. You don't have to, you can just put them in the tub or you could smoke them. You can do a number of things, but I'm going to be in the tub with mine in between events trying to find my center, because it does get really, really busy and fun. And then next weekend, we're rolling right into really on Wednesday. I think the festivities, kind of the fringe festivities, start kicking off for Charleston Wine and Food Festival. I'm going to be up in there doing all kinds of stuff. I literally at this point, I have to look. I don't even know which events I'm doing, but I'll be doing something in the Culinary Village on the main stage on next Friday. So I'll give you guys a heads up in the next episode. There's enough links. We can't possibly click anymore. So we'll leave it at that. But yeah, it is an incredible time. And then after that, after the Wine and Food Festival, it's going to be the Michelle's Honor event, which is, there's still a few tickets to. Also hosted by the Charleston Wine and Food Festival. Festival. That's precious. I mean, people do say things like that like grown-ups still say, where they're like a festival, or they're like my birthday, and you say the F, Some people still say that, or they say like diagonal, and you're like, no. Nobody's allowed to say diagonal. That's too far. Birthday is cute. Diagonal is just like, it's confusing. But Michelle's Honor, I'm going to be in conversation with Michelle's Honor of Crying in H Mart. And if you're a cool kid, Japanese Breakfast, the band. She's the lead singer of Japanese Breakfast and a New York Times bestselling author. And I'm going to be talking to her on her book tour. Her Charleston leg of the book tour is going to be at Music Farm. I think there's still a few tickets left, but honestly, the tickets in other cities have already sold out. So don't sleep on it. Grab those tickets. I'm not going to link those in this one. I'll link that as we get closer to it, because it is not until like, I think the beginning of April. But things to keep on your radar. I told you it was going to be a busy 2023, but I didn't know it was going to be this busy. So I feel really excited. I went to a new restaurant opening. I went to the opening of Sorelle. I'm the only one who can say it right, and it's embarrassing for everybody else who's calling it Sorelle, honestly. I don't really know how to say it. I'm pretty sure it is Sorelle, but that's one of those things that like, it sounds good on paper. You know what I mean? You write the name down and you're like, oh yeah, Maialino. And then someone inevitably is like, it's Maialino. And you're like, okay, but when I say I'm going to get a reservation, I'm not going to say it like that. So I think that's what's going on with Sorelle. I think it is Sorelle. And it is a absolute jaw dropper. Like, I want to talk about this restaurant a little bit, because I got not like I don't know how did I feel when I left there. I felt kind of awestruck, and also like, oh shit, like Charleston is that it's changed. The future is now. Like, people I think have been anticipating Charleston becoming more of a global city, even though it gets all kinds of awards that they pay for it. That's not what I'm talking about. I mean like the day-to-day being more like a global city where you have enormous restaurants like that you would find in London and New York and LA. and San Francisco, those kind of like mega concepts where you're like, this is such a huge restaurant. This is such a huge build out. Like the budget on this must be insane. Staggering into the, multi millions. And this is a collaboration between Michael Mina and BMOC. Michael Mina, they have restaurants in California, and they're these type of really amazing, just mind-blowingly giant concepts. But what made me so like just staggered by the whole thing is when you walk into the restaurant, like it just continues to go. Like there's a grand dining room, there's a bar, everything is opulent. There's a staircase that I would call like a grand staircase. Like there's like multiple kitchens, multiple levels, just absolute opulence, luxury. And on the bottom floor, on the street level to the left of it, there's a mercado where you can get coffee and pastries and focaccia and sandwiches. Like I didn't have one thing there that I wasn't like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, where am I? This is amazing. This is, this is worldwide. But what was kind of crazy was to think about like, who's going to patronize that restaurant all the time? And I think in my little bubble, since I've been out of the game, when I was on that podcast last night, I realized, because they asked me, and I was like, the last time I actually like worked or was paid to work in a restaurant was in 2018. So that's been a long time. So I don't pretend for any second to be like, I know what's going on in the hospitality industry on the ground level. I mean, I can always zoom out and say what I think, but as far as someone who works there or like sees the type of clientele that's in a restaurant, like I don't see it up close every single night. I might get a view of it while I'm in the restaurant and be like, okay, that's who this restaurant is for. But I think that was the question that kept getting asked was like, who is this place for? Like, who's going to fill this restaurant every single night? And after I had that thought, I immediately was like, oh, well, all of the people who moved here during COVID. And we need to just face the facts that Charleston has become a city of enormous growth over the pandemic. And it really is, they wouldn't build a concept like that and spend that kind of money. I mean, I would like estimate 25 million for this concept. And they wouldn't spend that kind of money without extensive research. The people that do these sort of concepts don't just put them anywhere and like roll the dice. Like these are well researched. These people are very smart with what they do. It's not a gamble, in other words. So I'm like, I think it's just me being late to the realization that there is the amount and the density of people who can afford to eat in a place like that 7 nights a week. And that's just wild. At first I was like, I don't know. I felt like I wanted to be curmudgeonly about it and be like, man, there goes the neighborhood. And then I was like, no, this is thrilling. Like, this is honestly thrilling. Like Charleston, you just can go ahead and accept it has changed. It is not the biggest little city of the South anymore. It's on the scene. She has arrived. And I think there's never been a restaurant like Sorelle in this city. I know that. I don't think that. I know that. And I don't think it'll be the last of its kind. I think we're going to continue to see just kind of magnitude changes where you're like, this is on another level, and the city's on another level. And I think that there's a tie-in that will also make people happy who might be skeptical and say like, well, we don't want that. We want it to be like a cool, fun, bohemian place to be. And that's fair too. But what I want to say is that all that is necessary in a healthy ecosystem to make a city. Like, I don't think it's any accident that we're seeing that kind of growth, those kind of concepts, the stunning, like just the people alone, the staff that was in there. I was like, where did you get these people? Like, these people have come in from other cities to open this place. These people have moved here, and that is amazing. And that is 100% a part of the equation when you talk about the renaissance in art that we're having, the interest in art. You need people to support that sort of thing. And the city has been like trying to get there. It's been trying to have this growth where it could be like big enough to support a proper scene in that way. And then it's like, oh, but I'm still a small town And I think at this point, it's safe to say that like it's not a small town anymore. And that's a good thing. I know that can be hard for people, especially like me, when you're like, wait, but can I still afford to live here? I think so. For now, I can. And I hope I continue to be able to live here. And I hope that people that want to live here can continue to live here. But yeah, whether you like it or not, or whether you think it's a good thing or not, I think it is very apparent that post-pandemic, the changes that happened that were mostly kind of kept at home, because you saw people moving here, but you didn't really see them out or see that money being put into concepts or the economy or to purchasing art. And everybody was kind of just staying in their own lane, working in New York from home or working from wherever. But now we're seeing the blossoming, I think, of that new influx of people. And on the real estate term on the real estate front, I know that Charleston and this area had the largest growth in terms of the housing market of anywhere in the nation during COVID. More people moved here per capita than any other city. So yeah, it's kind of like when you're like a dorky little teenager with braces in middle school, and then you show up on the first day of high school, like, you know, the summer was the pandemic, and you're like a hot, cool kid. That's what it feels like. Do with that what you will. I know there's downsides to this sort of growth. I'm aware. I'm painfully aware. But being that there is not much that you can do in terms of keeping people out, I think you have to embrace it and be like, holy shit, I can't believe there's a place like that here. I can't believe there's a scene like that here. I can't believe there's people who are, you know, investing in art and artists and going to shows and investing in concepts. And I think we have to try to like see the good and the bad. But in all cases, I try to focus on the positives and just try to see how cool it is to be in a city that is changing like this. So that's my little restaurant review. Sorella, it was absolutely staggering, like jaw on the floor. Everybody that was there was just kind of like dumbstruck, like, whoa. Like it was a room filled with, well, it was a building, giant building, multiple floors filled with restaurant owners, people in the community, because it was the opening, kind of soft opening party. And you could just see like the mixed looks of like awe and also terror. Like there was like a feeling of terror on some of these restaurant owners' faces, who I think were in their heads, if I'm reading their faces right. I have no way to prove this. This was just my perspective, but it looked like they were thinking like, holy shit, how am I going to compete with this? And I don't think you have to compete is the answer. And I think they'll eventually land there too. It's like everything goes into the fabric of the community. It can't all just be behemoth concepts that are like opulent. And no city's like that. Even New York, some of the best places you get food is literally on the street. But I think now we've added another level that didn't exist there before. And so I think people, especially restaurant owners, were kind of like eyes wide trying to settle that and see where that left them. So it was an interesting dynamic for sure to see how people were reacting to being in the space. And it reminded me of being in New York and working at those kind of dining rooms at Per Se and seeing when people come in and they're almost like aghast at the space. They walk in and they're kind of like, oh my God, like there's an element of insecurity that happens before you just kind of lean in and are like, okay, wow, I can relax and like just take it all in and be blown away. And I think the staff at Sorella did a beautiful job of that. And the team and everybody that was there was just so generous and kind. And I mean, truffle risotto and oysters and cannoli. Like there was just food and beautiful wine everywhere. And it was a party. And I was home squarely by 9 because I was just like overstimulated by how glitzy and amazing it was. So if you haven't checked it out, go there. I know the Mercado is open. It's open during the day. I don't know if it's open 7 days a week, but you can check out their hours. And you can go in and get coffee, like I said, and pastries and all that sort of beautiful stuff, takeaway things, hot sauces, olive oils, specialty cooking ingredients. Like there's just, it's gorgeous. It's on Broad Street, 88 Broad. Go check it out. Tell me what you think. I'm so, excited to have been able to get a sneak peek at the place before it's just totally in its phase of just everybody trying to get in there and see it. But yeah, wild times. Definitely something. It just gave me so much to chew on. I was like thinking literally and figuratively, I was thinking about it for days after. I was just like, what does it mean? I was like that girl in the meme who's trying to figure out math. That's what my face was like after I ate there. I just went there and partied and walked around and took videos. It was a great time. And it was, a really, really fun experience. But I know the city is just going to be a buzz all week long. It's really fun to walk the streets of Charleston, regardless of how you feel about, Charleston Wine and Food Festival. Some people are like, love it, go every year. Some people are like, oh my God, now I can't park anywhere. And all my restaurants that I usually go to are full. Regardless of how you feel about it, there are so many cool people in town, and it is really fun to just kind of walk around and be like, oh my God, that's Barbara Lynch, or oh my God, that's, whoever you want. There's just going to be so many fun people. It is very much like a family reunion for people in food and beverage when you're in the city. And I haven't been to a lot of festivals in other food cities, but I hear that it's one of the best and it's one of the most favorite for the talent to come to Charleston. No, duh, it's awesome here. But yeah, so keep your eyes peeled. If you're like, hey, is that such and such from so and what? It probably is. So maybe your favorite chef or sommelier or whoever, food writer is in town. I'm going to be trying to get some guests on the show while they're in town. It's always a mad grab with people trying to manage schedules during that really, really busy time of year. But yeah, my God, so much to cover, so much to think about. Most importantly, though, get your tickets to Nathan and Joel's show. Like I said, it's going to be Joel and Friends, and the Friends are stacked. If you haven't seen Brett Nash play, oh my God, like I said, She Returns from War, Jamilton, Nathan's artwork, he's been working so hard, and I have to have him on the show at some point. But he's been just aspirationally cranking it out. So go see what he's been working on. Go hang at Silver Hill Studios. If you see me just like, laying on the sidewalk with my legs up a building, trying to relax, it's because I'm overworked and underfed. And, get me a cream puff and a jug of water and send me on my way. 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 I guess I have to end the show now. I don't know how to go anywhere from there. Thank you so much for listening. Please vote for F&B Radio in the city paper, Best of Charleston, and vote for anyone else. There's so many cool people nominated in literally every category. Like, you think that's not a category, and then you're like, wow, Best Babysitter? No, I don't know if there is one for that. But if there is, nominate, your friend next year. If they're already on the ballot, vote for them this year. And I'll see you all next week. Bye, 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 bye. Oh, damn. I meant to tell you about how I made ricotta gnocchi. Damn. Like, mentally, I've already ended the show, so I don't know if I can, go back into it. But I made, oh my God. I'm doing it. I'm going back into it. I made Fig's ricotta gnocchi at home. I can't believe I worked there for as long as I did. I never tried to make it at home. I've never tried to make pasta ever in my life. Any kind. Not even I've made it in restaurants, but I've never made it at home. And I made Fig's ricotta gnocchi. I literally Googled Mike Lotta's ricotta gnocchi. A very excellently scaled recipe came up, and I made it from scratch. And knowing what I know about working there, like when you work in a restaurant and you have to listen to the chefs describe the process, it's like immersive understanding. Like you don't know the ratios, you don't know the measurements, but that doesn't matter because you know the process. And to me, that's so much more valuable than even the ratios. Like you could probably get close with the ratios or the measurements or whatever you want to call it. But understanding the little nuances that only the chef who makes it and has made it every day of his life or her life for the past, 3 years, when they describe food to you and how they make it, somehow it gets burned into my brain because those are the little nuggets that I like weave into my spiel when I did work in restaurants. And I like weave them all together to make this beautiful visionary explanation of what the food is going to taste like and feel like and look like and smell like. And that's something that I've realized I miss. And I almost wish instead of recipes, people would just give me their like chef's description, but not to the guest. I don't want like the flowery one. I want the tactile one, like that just talks about the process. Because when you talk about the gnocchi, I have the recipe. I found it online. It's very easily searchable. And I was like, that's cool. I got the measurements. But even just in written explanations or directions, you miss the pitfalls that you might overlook or those subtleties. That's like, if you've ever had fig's gnocchi, everybody always asks, how do you get the cheese inside? They think they're a stuffed pasta, like a ravioli, because it has that beautiful little shell of just, more set pasta on the outside. And then inside, it's more ooey gooey, like eggy, custardy, ricotta-y. And it's silky in the middle. So when you bite into them, they sort of just like, oh my God, it's beautiful. And so people would always ask about that. They would think it was a stuffed pasta. And so I realized that the hallmark of a properly cooked fig gnocchi was that it had that shell and that outside. Well, how does one get that exterior that's still not overdone, but set? And then the inside is perfectly, so that if you cut a cross section of it, you would see a ring of perfectly set, pasta dough, and then a center that's like gooey and delicious, but not runny. You don't want that raw egg situation. It's a really, really delicate balance to strike. So I'm aware of that. And I was hoping I would get that, but I was like, this is at home. Chances are I probably overworked this dough. But then I remembered that the trick to get that to happen is that you put the dough, once you form the gnocchi, you put it into a very, very cold fridge, or preferably a freezer if you have that kind of space. So that when when the little dumplings hit the boiling water, the outside obviously gets taken down first and sets, and then the middle is just kind of radiating, and it's almost medium rare in the middle, if you will. I don't want to brag, but mine were exactly like that, and I would have never known the freezer trick. It did say chill until you're ready to use, but that's the thing that I'm talking about. That's the nuance that only a chef would have described to you. Like, yeah, that's how we get it to do that. And I wish more recipes were written with profuse notes about process, because I think a lot of times people try to keep it short so they don't confuse at-home cooks. But I'm like, man, you really miss out on those nuances. And when you're replicating a dish and you used to work at that place, I can guarantee you, you'll be closer than anybody ever will from reading the directions. So it just made me feel like that's a really cool perk if you work in a restaurant where they're known for a dish, or there's something that you love. If it's, whether it's the salad dressing at Via Carota or whatever it is, like there's probably some little trick that from listening to the chef describe how to make that dish over and over to every new person. And every time you train someone, you know what I mean? Like you get really into those little minutia about how this recipe works and why this recipe works and what changes you make when we're using lamb instead of pork. Like just all of these things that people just gloss over when they want like a very simple to execute recipe. And I just got to say, I feel lucky because, man, maybe I never have to go to Fig again. Not that that makes me lucky, but I'm like, I can have Fig gnocchi whenever I want. And I think for so long I was like, God, I have to like ask them for a reservation and like hope they let me in and like deal with me just so I can have these dishes that I love. Now I just need Jason to come up off his pate en croûte ratios. Not that I could ever make that, but anyway, all I'm saying is if you've worked at a restaurant, you don't really take the proper notice of how much of an advantage you have when it comes to making that recipe at home. That's something I never realized until today. I was like, whoa, I have a mega advantage. And I'm going to start flexing it because I'm like, I think a lot of times when you work at a place, you're like, oh, I ate this so much, or I've been around this so much that you just kind of take it for granted and don't really want to make it at home. But damn. Was I wrong? I'm sad I waited this long. It's really easy. Google it. Google Mike Latta's gnocchi recipe and then make it and see if those little tweaks that I told you make yours even better. Thank you for listening. Thanks for hanging on when I already tried to say goodbye and then now I'm back. But I meant to talk about that and I just forgot. Because I'm just, man, I'm all over the place. Be nice to yourself this week. Make yourself something delicious. Vote for me on this Charleston City Paper Best Of. And I'll see you next week. Bye, 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 bye. Come to Hogs for the Cause. Saturday. It's literally Saturday, the 25th. Sorry last week when I said it was on the 28th. I know that I said that wrong. And then later I was like, what am I going to do? I can't fix it. But it's on the 25th, not the 28th. So just forget all that. Just know that it's on Saturday. Okay? It's not on a Tuesday. Nobody does a charity event on a Tuesday. That should have been a red flag right away. To me and you. But I was, on the bath salts. I love you. I'll see you next week. Thank you so much. Bye. Bye, bye, bye.
Famille, les amis.